All right, y'all. I'm back. I still don't have a script. I still don't know how to edit. And I'm still tired. So here we are. So this video is going to go in concert with my December 2024 newsletter. I won't make a video for every newsletter, but there is something that I announced there that I want to explain and then also talk about what I think, what I think 2025 will look like, at least in one aspect or in a couple aspects. Hopefully I don't forget anything because, again, I don't know how to edit, so I can't edit in. With that said, let's get started. So the thing I announced in my newsletter is that all of my books are going back into Kindle Unlimited. And this was not a decision I came to lightly, nor was it the decision I thought I was going to make at the top of the year. I think we all had ideas about how the year would end, and it's ending like this. So I'll say this. I have tried to, since I started writing, I would say maybe not even since I started writing, since about like late 2018, 2019, I have tried to set really achievable goals. This is not my full-time job, which I am sad about some days and also really thankful for some days. And in this way, I'm thankful. I mostly look at my writing career as self-sustaining. That was the goal I made about 2018, 2019. And I've been really lucky that since about 2020, I have been able to sustain my writing career as it is, which means that for the most part, if there is something I want to do, if there is something I want to write, if there is something I want to release, I'm able to do it. And I'm able to pay the people who help me along the way. With that said, though, there have been lots of changes that have happened in various algorithms, and also the way that I show up or not online to sell my books that have changed the way that I have been selling books, and also changed, just honestly speaking, the amount of money that I make. And going wide at first was perfectly fine. It honestly still is perfectly fine to some degree, but I am trying to think long term, especially, unfortunately, because of the election and also because of things that are happening with regard to censorship and the banning, or at least the hiding of books with erotic or explicit content, which is all I write, and that have forced me to make decisions I personally would have preferred to put off for longer, love to procrastinate, or at the very least not to have to make right now. And the reason I went wide, honestly, was primarily to get into libraries. I did also hear from readers that because of their countries and the way that Amazon works in some countries, they couldn't get the books when they were Amazon exclusive. So I went wide to facilitate that, which I really love to do, honestly. But I will just be honest, and I think you could talk to most indie authors, I make most of my money on Amazon still, even when I was wide. And so going back to KU is sort of taking all of this stuff into account. I make very little money from library books, library sales, which is not a problem, but it is a problem if I'm going to struggle, if those books are going to struggle to actually get into libraries, not just because of the content, but also because it's self-published. And so I had to take that into account. And while I do sell on other retailers, maybe you have heard that a few of the other retailers, no names, Barnes & Noble, have been hiding some of the books with erotic content. And it just doesn't make a whole bunch of sense to be wide if the books are not visible there or they're harder to find. And while Amazon absolutely has its problems with regard to discoverability, it is slightly easier for books to be discovered there. And I also have to consider that this is not my full job. And so I don't have the time or energy necessarily to market my books in a way that would make staying wide profitable in the way that it would need to be. Whereas I can have everything on Amazon in KU, and it would streamline some of the process of not just marketing books, but also of releasing new books. I don't imagine that this will be forever, But at least for the next year, all of my books are going to be in KU. That includes my entire backlist and everything else I release for the next year. Which means that obviously some books will roll over into KU into 2026. I know that this is not like a decision that everyone will love. I know lots of people totally understandably are breaking up with Amazon, breaking up with Kindle Unlimited. I respect it. You're not going to hear me complain. But also other people aren't. And again, if you talk to indie authors, if you talk to lots of indie authors, not everyone, Amazon and KU, I'll just talk for myself. Amazon and KU is how I had enough money to keep writing after I released the first 2 or 3 books in the Spies Who Loved Her series. It like helped me, one, be able to afford an editor in Kai. It helped me be able to afford like stock photos. It helped me be able to afford the software I use to make my books. Like there were lots of things happening there, and that was all funded by KU and sales from Amazon. And if you've been with me for a while, you know that most of my books were 99 cents then. So I'm really talking about a sort of bare bones kind of project. And it made a lot of sense then. And at least right now, it makes a lot of sense again. But if you are breaking up with Amazon, I don't want to force you to go there or to say, oh, I guess you're just not going to read my... I would never say that. I couldn't even finish that sentence. So here's what I am doing as a concession. And some of the sort of nuts and bolts of this are still being worked out in my own overworked and tired brain. For every new release that's coming out, I will release first on my website, which means that if you are not giving Amazon your money next year or ever again, and you still would like to read my books, you still will be able to. I will release them in ebook on my website. The other thing is, KU is only about the ebook, and so I will make sure that my paperbacks are available if you want them signed, obviously on my website, but I'll also make them available so that your local bookstores can order them there if you want to go that route. I honestly have had to like stop uploading them to Ingram, which is the place where I would do so. It's not a website I love. It also is a bit of a hassle, but not having to release ebooks on all the other sites means that I can make it available. I can focus on Ingram and some, maybe like one other site to make sure that they're available for libraries who want to order a physical copy, or a bookstore if you want to order from your local bookstore, or if you're international, obviously, because I don't ship, unfortunately, signed paperbacks internationally. Maybe I'll have time to figure that out, but with the state of the country and the world, we'll see. So this is sort of my concession here, that I will make the books available for a period of time. The period of time, I don't know exactly how long, so that if you are avoiding Amazon, you can buy the ebook directly from me. And so that will mean that you'll have to be subscribed to my newsletter, because this is where I will, obviously not YouTube, well maybe YouTube, I don't know. But my newsletter is where I'll announce it first. So if there are books that you think are coming next year, and they might be, this is where you would get that information first from me, especially if it matters to you that you avoid Amazon. Yeah, so there's that. And then the other thing that I think is changing next year, which may or may not be a good thing, who knows? I certainly don't. A lot of you know that since I left Twitter, I have not really been online in the same way. Certainly not vocally online, which was good and bad. On the one hand, I have appreciated not being in the thick of mess. On the other hand, when mess happens, you know I have opinions, unfortunately. I've just been inflicting them on my friends, so they're welcome. But I can say this, I do absolutely miss having conversations about romance, like smart conversations about romance. That is partially why Steve Amadown and I started Black Romance Has a History. But the conversations we're having there are also not necessarily the totality of the conversations I'd like to have. In particular, I still want to have conversations about Blackness in specific books, not just sort of broadly speaking about Black romance. And I'm a historian. I want to talk about history and cultural criticism relative to that. And it has been interesting to have lots of thoughts, but one, not force myself to have like a quick thought on Twitter that is probably for the best, but not necessarily have quite the outlet I want to talk about those books or about those themes and things like that. And so if you remember Twitter and you remember having conversations with me about romance, like critical conversations about romance and race and Blackness in particular, and you want to have them again, I would say watch this space, because while I don't know exactly the form it will take, that is partially why I'm on YouTube for real, I think, so that I could have these conversations, but not necessarily have to sit down and write them into what for me will just turn into very long articles. And if you're on my newsletter, I will have also announced that I'm going to be giving a talk on, in particular, Black historical romance in February of 2025. So, you know, if you're in the area, I would love to see you and talk to you about that. But if you're not in the area, I would say subscribe to the YouTube channel. I was going to say the newsletter. Subscribe to the newsletter too. But subscribe to my YouTube channel, and there might be conversations here that you want to have. And then I'll say this as like a sort of parting note. I feel really, it's like legitimately winter here. It's now also raining and gray, and I'm tired. But I will say this. I really am unsure about what next year will look like, as I think we all are. And I'm processing a lot of grief with regard to that, and a lot of uncertainty and anxiety, which is how I process most emotions, if I'm being honest. But underneath it all, I've actually been working on really cool stuff. Internally, I have been working on really cool stuff with Kai that hopefully will come out next year. And I'm actually really excited to release all of the stuff that I have been writing and planning for next year. Obviously at the top of the year, it'll be the Seaport relaunch if you have bought the pre-order special editions and all that stuff. And then at some point after that, once everything has been fulfilled, whatever, I can't talk. Once everything has been sent out, then I will release a slightly less fantastic version, but still the same books as everyone else is getting. Again, back into KU, but there will also be a slightly different version of the paperbacks for you all to buy if the special editions were not for you, or if you're seeing this really late. And then I will be at a couple of events next year, not many. I don't know how many times I can say I am tired, but I am tired. So hopefully I will see you at Romantically Yours and Romance Con next summer or fall. Yeah, I think that's it. So if you sat through this whole sort of rambling video, thank you. First of all, thank you. And then second of all, again, like, I hope that you're all doing well. I hope that you're all doing well. And I will see you in some way, shape, or form somewhere on the internet. Probably not TikTok. I'm not entirely sure. No one's entirely sure. But I don't know. Sign up for my newsletter. All right, bye everyone. Oh, and Happy New Year.